Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We're just about to start our webinar, and today we'll be talking about managed threat protection. So once again, welcome to our 2023 webinar series. Today it's a quite hot topic, the managed threat protection. And for those of you who may see this first time and who are not very familiar with the term, basically, managed threat protection is about detecting, responding, and recovering from any cyber threats. And we can all agree that cybersecurity is a huge aspect of our businesses. We constantly need to think of how to improve our security, how to improve the tools that we are using, and how to make sure that we have right people within the industry who can sort of look after our security. And managed threat protection is a something, it's a new tool that we can relate to. So first of all, for those of you who may be here first time and who have never seen our logo, you don't know who Planet IT is. So we are one of the largest MSP providers in Oxfordshire. So any sort of day-to-day issues with IT support, please reach out to us, and I'm sure that we'll be able to help you. We're also providing fourth line IT support, and we deal with any sort of escalations, any issues which are outside of your knowledge, which are outside of your the business stack. So we can help you with those ones. We are delivering IT projects, and those projects are being delivered by certified engineers. We also have project managers, which are specifically assigned to those projects, and those project managers make sure that the project is being delivered from A to Z with the top quality. We have a team of salespeople that are constantly searching for the best prices in terms of IT hardware and the software. So should you be going through some changes within your business now that you want to renew your hardware, or you are searching for some software to buy for your business, please also reach out to us. We specializing in security, so we're IT security experts. We can help you strengthen your business in terms of security. We can help you with sort of designing and placing right tools in order to make your business more secure. If you're going through some backup and disaster recovery issues, we also can talk about those with you. And if you're going through some internet connectivity issues or phone system, and is there anything that you would like to change in terms of your current phone system, or just talk about some other solution in terms of phone system, yeah, please reach out to us. So as you can see here from the slide, we are pretty much doing anything that is IT related. Now a little bit about myself. So my name is Maciej Owsiany, and I'm working as a technical architect here in Planet IT. I have been within the industry for just over 10 years, started as a help desk engineer, then progressed my role, and now I became a technical architect. And my main focus is how to make a business more secure. So obviously cybersecurity, and I'm dealing with day-to-day issues and designing a system for our clients. So any concerns, any issues, please reach out to me, and we will be able to help you with the right solutions for your business. Just to remind you, at the end of this webinar, there will be a Q&A session, and feel free to ask us any question related to a managed threat protection subject. Just to let you know, behind the scenes, there's one and only Barry O'Brien, marketing guru, who will make sure that none of the sensitive information are going and will be published. So which is obviously taking the security quite seriously. But again, feel free to ask us any question, and I'll try to answer that to the best of my knowledge. So what the aim of today's session, of today's webinar is. So first of all, we'll talk about what the managed threat protection is. And again, for those of you who never heard about the term, who are not familiar, at the end of this webinar, you will know more about it, and you will know what managed threat protection challenges maybe you're going through some challenges at the moment within your business. So we'll talk about what challenges managed threat protection can address. We will also compare modern world versus the old world. So we will talk about the approach that we used to deal with in the old days, and how we used to deal with those threats, what methods we used to use, and how that compares to the modern era, where we can use tools like managed threat protection. We will also compare that to security as a service. We will run some cost benefits, and you will be able to see whether you will actually benefit from implementing managed threat protection for your business. And we will talk about some recommended solutions which are available on the market. And as you will see, there are many vendors that are offering managed threat solutions, managed threat protections at the moment. So first of all, what is managed threat protection? And what you can see here on that slide, the managed protection is, in a nutshell, full visibility of your entire system. So your infrastructure is being protected, and it doesn't matter whether you have devices that are being placed on premise, or whether you have devices and those devices or servers or virtual machines are placed in the cloud. Entire infrastructure is visible, so the data is being collected from all of those servers, all of those endpoints, all of those virtual machines, and that data is being constantly diagnosed. Not only that the data is being diagnosed during working hours, but there is a huge aspect, which is a main aspect of managed threat protection, and that is 24/7, 365 days a year that your data is being constantly looked after. And I will talk about it a little bit more in our session, because this is, again, as I said, huge aspect. Managed threat protection is vendor agnostic. So we have many vendors which are which offers that solution. And as you can see, vendors like Sophos, Cynet, CrowdStrike, Barracuda, you name it, and I can guarantee you that many vendors will be offering that managed threat protection. When we talk about managed threat protection, we have to remember that that solution comes with dedicated team of security analysts. That means that the people which are highly trained in threat hunting, highly trained in spotting those, cyber attacks, and they know how to deal with those, they will be able to help you. And the approach, which is also the main aspect, is proactive rather than reactive. So you remember in the old days, the situation where, as the organization or our business were hit with a ransomware, or we had some sort of problem with a virus, and then the huge team of IT individuals were gathering, and we were talking about, what do we do now? What shall we do now to sort of remediate and remove the threat from entire system? Now that approach is very proactive. That means that those threats can be spotted well ahead of, by the time that they're reaching the organization, those threats will be spotted and will be remediated. And EDR which is a core product of management protection. Obviously, that stands from endpoint detection and response. And you may find out that some of those vendors, some of different vendors, may name the product differently. Some of them name it EDR, some of them name it XDR, which stands for extended detection and response. Some of the vendors named it MDR. Essentially, the whole idea behind it is the same, and that in a nutshell, what we can see on that slide is managed threat protection. As I mentioned previously, I want to talk about those 24/7 protection, 365 days per year. So according to Darktrace, in 76% of ransomware attacks, infection happens either after hours or during the weekend. And we know that for a fact that cyber criminals may hit our business during working hours, but they will have less chances to be to be successful. And the reason behind it is that there are more people on premise, to be able to deal with the issue, and the response to the threat may be almost instant. So although cyber criminals knows that they may be successful, I can guarantee you that they will be aiming to hit our business or to attack our business outside of those working hours. And this is the thing that I want to point at. If we take to consideration just the standard weekend, so our business is closing at 6 p.m. on Friday, and we're opening on Monday at 9 a.m. Between those days, we have 75 continuous hours where cyber criminals will try to find a hole and they will try to inject something in our system. And you can only imagine like how quickly majority of malwares these days spreading out. If we're talking about 75 hours, that is, that's just a recipe for disaster. And once again, let's take a look at this slide where we're showing here that, that 75 hours, it's a lot. And obviously there are more chances that cyber criminals, the bad actors, will try to get into our system outside of normal business hours. And again, we're just talking here about the standard weekend, but what if we have a bank holiday weekend, or what if the business is closed for a couple of days? That's where the problem is. So yeah, I just want you to remember that there are many hours where the business is closed. That's why we're talking about that 24/7 protection while you are away, while the business is closed during that bank holiday weekend, should you go down the route of having a managed threat protection solution. Now let's take a look of what is endpoint detection and response. So first of all, again, as I mentioned previously, it's the main aspect of managed threat protection. And in the simple word that I can describe is that all information from entire system, regardless of whether that system is on cloud or on-prem, it's been pulled in to one place and diagnosed by a dedicated team of cybersecurity analysts. And the important thing also here is to mention that obviously in today's world, majority of businesses, and I believe that majority of the businesses of people who are joined to this webinar are either the hybrid mode, so employees are allowed to work in a sort of hybrid environment where they can work remotely, their devices are somewhere located in different parts of the world. And again, we need to remember that all information, all telemetry, all data is being pulled to one location and is being diagnosed by a dedicated team of specialists, of cyber specialists. We have third-party integrations, which is which is a huge aspect of endpoint detection and response. Third-party integrations means that, let's say, in our business, we may have a firewall which comes from one vendor. We like that vendor. We have a very good relation with that vendor. We've purchased that firewall a year ago, and we have placed 3 years deal with the license on that firewall. We don't want to go into conversation that, I don't necessarily, as a business owner, want to change that firewall now, just because, I perhaps may be interested in MTR. And the same thing, you may have the AV solution on your endpoint, which is from different vendor. Third-party integration allows you to consider having managed threat protection without need of restructuring your business. So you don't have to invest, loads of money into buying, new software, new devices, and going with, one sort of vendor. Because again, why would you put all eggs into one basket? And MTP works with those different vendors, and it doesn't matter what you have on your network. There are special connectors which will be taking that data into consideration from, again, different devices created by different vendors. Many of us heard about term demand threat hunting, on-demand threat hunting, and this is a huge aspect of the EDR. And what that does, it's basically a constant searching for any abnormalities within that data which is being pulled from entire system. And if it's anything outside of the pattern that obviously the dedicated team of security analysts is looking at, then they, by doing on-demand threat hunting, they can prevent by any sort of, malware activity or that cyber attack to happen. So just remember, on-demand threat hunting, it's a big aspect of EDR solution. Now let's look at the board. Let's look at this slide, and I bet that many of us work with those vendors. Some of them are big, like like Microsoft or Sophos, WatchGuard, SonicWall, CrowdStrike. I mean, you name it. And again, that third-party integration means that what I've mentioned before, you don't need to restructure your business. You don't need to go with one vendor to be able to go down the route and consider MTP, managed threat protection solution. So yeah, just take a look, and if you work with those vendors, it's okay. You can still choose, managed threat protection without having restructured your business. Let's talk about now what challenges can managed threat protection address. So first of all, the big aspect, and again, I know that I have mentioned this before, but this is, something that all of the businesses are going through, and this is the challenge for majority of the businesses these days. And this is out of hours response. So you simply may have an IT team which wants to enjoy, the holiday, or they're enjoying a barbecue with their friends on the weekends, or you want to take time off, or your business is closed because it's a bank holiday. What happens if your organization being under attack, under cyber attack during those hours? There is no response. And we know that many businesses these days have servers that are constantly running. Some of the organizations have computers which are constantly being switched on, because those computers may, let's say, act as a server to, let's say, process some data during weekends. And that's the problem. If we're not within the premise, if we're not within the business, there's nobody there to respond. And on the other side, we just, who doesn't want to, to enjoy the time away by, being on holiday? We don't need to worry by having managed threat protection, we don't need to worry because that challenge is already addressed. So it's this 24/7 protection for entire year. If it comes to internal skill set, we may have people within organization who have skills, who are very, very, very skillful, but they don't necessarily need to be, cyber analysts, or they even though they will have all of the data pulled from entire environment by having, let's say, the right AV solution, they may not know what to do with the data. That causes a huge stress, because you can imagine, you as a business owner, if you need to tell your IT manager, listen, it's a Friday night, there was something not right on our system going on today. Can you look at it later? I mean, you don't want to deal with it over the weekend. And certainly you don't want to come back on Monday morning and just deal with a disaster because something has happened over the weekend. This is a huge stress. I mean, you constantly, there's this picture here says alert fatigue. You're constantly being alerted. You're constantly thinking, shall I do anything? Has anything been done to deal with the issues that we had today? Yeah, I've seen there was something on the network, something was going on, but have I done enough to now, go home and spend a nice weekend and then come back on Monday? Or shall I maybe take some more time and work today and check all of those computers which we simply have not had time to check during working hours? And obviously that comes with the huge cost of in-house solution, because you need to have the right people. Sometimes those people need to do longer hours, and that's just a problem. And these challenges can be managed with managed threat protection. Those challenges can be addressed with the managed threat protection. Let's now take a look about managed threat protection versus self-managed threat protection. So what I want to say here, and I like that comparison, it's sort of like comparing the modern world versus the old world. Obviously, modern world, I mean managed threat protection solution, and the old world, the way that we used to deal with threats, in the past, like a few years later, before the managed threat protection was very popular. So we've divided this by 6 steps. So this is just like a sort of standard cycle. What happens when the virus is being delivered to our organization? So first of all, it needs to be some sort of interaction from the end user. So in that case, let's say if the virus is being delivered by a malicious attachment, it doesn't necessarily need to be malicious attachment. It can be that the user visited some website, they've clicked on some malicious link, they downloaded the software, and that software, let's say, it's now sort of being installed on a computer. Threat is being detected by your AV solution, and that AV solution is waiting now for the action. That action needs to be either done by the end user, or let's say, some organization have the sort of like a central unit where all of those endpoints are sort of contacting with. And again, but there's a still time that AV solution is waiting for your action, or is waiting for the action from your IT team. By that time, between those 3 steps, the software, the malicious software which already has been downloaded, is going through a couple of steps. So first of all, is looking that malware, that malicious software is searching whether there are some gaps on your network, whether you have some unprotected system, whether you have some unprotected device, whether maybe you have not updated your server, and maybe there is some software which is not patched. And also between those 3 first steps, that malicious software may be contacting with the cyber criminal, and may already be, by this step, sending some sort of data or stealing the information, and that leads that the threat is still continues to spread. That's the step 4. Step 5, obviously, at this time we have unprotected systems compromised by ransomware, and that is a recipe for disaster, which leads to the final step, which is a data loss. So at this point, your data may be either lost or encrypted, and your business is going now through a huge stress of either putting in action backup and disaster recovery plan, which obviously comes with a big cost. And obviously that's if you have a good plan in place, because if you doesn't, that's obviously you are in big trouble. And I remember this when I was working on as an on-site engineer. We were sent to one of the clients. It was one of the largest clients for the company I used to work for, and it took around 2 days to remediate and remove all of the viruses, because the entire organization had been hit by a ransomware. I remember within those 2 days, the employees of that company had been sent. Well, they literally could not work. They had no access to data. They had no access to the entire file server had been encrypted. They could not send emails, and they've been sent home. There were a couple of managers which left on site. They had to call the client. They had to tell them, listen, guys, that we cannot, the business is closed for entire 2 days. And you can imagine that business lost loads of money. So we need to remember that if we don't have right solution in place, there is no sort of link between, as we can see on this slide, the advanced threats are being pushed into our organization by cyber criminals. And because we at the moment, with no managed threat protection, we have lack of solutions, lack of operations, lack of skills, and there are more chances that we will be compromised. By having managed threat protection, and that slide looks much better, we're making sure that there is something in between of organization and the cyber criminal. And with managed threat protection, we ultimately have managed security. So we have the optimal solution, we have proper skills, and these skills, the operations are done and everything is being diagnosed by the expert, by cyber analysts. So this what it should look like. If you have a managed threat protection, you can make sure that well ahead of time you will prevent the possible attack. What we can see here is obviously added benefits. So first of all, monthly and quarterly reports, proactive action rather than reactive. So we've discussed it earlier. Security health checks, very important aspect of those benefits. By having those security health checks being done, we're making sure that the group of those cyber security analysts are making sure that all of our devices, the data which is being pulled from either a firewall or from the endpoint, they know what needs to be set up accordingly to the to the top level guidance. And if there is something on our system, if there is a small gap within the firewall, maybe a rule which leads to just malicious traffic to go through, anything, we will know about it, and we will have a chance to discuss that with them, and those cyber analysts will tell us, listen, you need to let's say, make some changes to on your firewall. You have to make some changes to those endpoints, or a couple of endpoints are not up to date. We need to do something about it. And again, this is a very good benefit which is added to managed threat protection. Also, threat hunting, constant hunting for threats. And we've heard about cases where the malware or some sort of ransomware attack have been but we never know. There may be some computer that we have missed, and that may be some small service on this computer that we have not checked, without that threat hunting, without that huge benefit of threat hunting, we constantly be thinking, have we done anything that we possibly could have done? And this is a huge benefit. So again, and proactive security. So that's something that we've talked about it as well. Let's now compare it to managed threat protection with the security as a service. And as we can see on the slide, there are many things, like the main one that we've talked about is 24/7 monitoring, which is sort of embedded, which is a core essence of the managed threat protection. We will have some limitations if we have a security as a service, because even though we will, let's say we have a team of people working, those people will need to have holidays, those people may not be in the business at some point. So obviously there are more chances that managed threat protection is much better here. Same thing with the enhanced telemetry. That is sort of the main essence of the managed threat protection. And again, this whole approach is proactive when you are going down the road of having managed threat protection rather than security as a service. Human oversight, same thing, it's limited when you are choosing the route of security as a service. So just take a look at the slides and remember these, and hopefully this will help you choosing the right solution for your business. We've also run some cost benefits of managed threat protection, and this is based on sort of small, medium business. If we look at the tools section, approx build cost versus managed threat protection, obviously we have to have the endpoint protection on our devices, whether these are servers or just the standard endpoints, laptops or PCs. And we need to have the EDR with that solution. So basically this is for better visibility of the data. The cost is the same here, regardless if we're talking about the approximate build cost of or managed threat protection. Source solution, threat intelligence, these are included in managed threat protection. So there are huge savings that we can eliminate here. Second section, the people, this is where the money obviously matters, and we can save here loads of money. And in managed threat protection, pretty much everything is included. And if we're comparing this to approx build cost, you need to have at least one SOC manager. You need to have a shift lead. You need to have a couple of analysts. And obviously we know that it is not cheap solution to have those people in. I mean, they will ask for some good money, and in order to have the skill sets of those people within the business, you will have to pay them good money. So as you can see, everything is sort of embedded and everything is included in managed threat protection. And in terms of processes, pretty much everything, if we're talking about the incident investigation, hunting methodology, tool management, alert management, everything is included. And here still, if we're talking about the approx build cost, you need to inject some money into that. So if we look overall for everything and the grand total, there is a huge difference. So this is how much you can possibly save if you would want to have similar solution to managed threat protection. Let's now talk about some recommendations and available solutions on the market. So as you can see here on the slide, we work with many of those vendors. The challenge here is that if you, as a business owner, will call one of these vendors, they will tell you that their solution is the best. They will tell you that there is nothing better than what they are offering. And you can sort of avoid it by calling Planet IT, by calling us. We will make sure, because we work with many of those vendors, we'll make sure that maybe there is something within your system that you may be better off working with, let's say Microsoft or Sophos or Cynet, Barracuda, CrowdStrike, we will be able to advise you, because again, you are not calling just one vendor. So we won't be like, no, you have to go with this vendor, or no. We will have an open conversation and we will be able to advise you which vendor you should go for. At this point, I also want to mention that we have won MTR Partner of the Year, and not only for Europe, but Middle East and Africa. And that was with Sophos, but just to let you know, we're not only working with one vendor. And as you can see on this screen, we work with vendors like CrowdStrike, Mimecast, Fortinet, and if you look at our full security stack here at this slide, should you be going at the moment through some issues with your, or challenges with your email security, encryption, you're in the middle of, replacing your firewall, you want to train your staff how to be more aware about the phishing attacks, or, pretty much anything in terms of security, you can reach out to us. And I'm sure that we will be able to help you, as we have a huge team of members who are working for Planet IT, and I can guarantee that we've dealt probably with the issues that you want to raise with us in the past. So yeah, please reach out to us, and we're here for you. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I think we are at the end of this webinar, and I will have a look at the questions that have been raised by you. So just bear with me 1 second. Okay, so first question. Can legacy applications be protected by a managed threat protection? Is that possible? So yes, that is possible. We had cases where the businesses were running some bespoke legacy applications on their system. There was on one of their server, and at the beginning there was a problem with pulling the telemetry, the data from the legacy application. But we did speak to the vendor, and they actually managed to have an open conversation with the client, and there was a special connector which has been developed to deal with that legacy application. So in answer to your question, yeah, it is possible. How long does the onboarding process take? That's another question. Very good point, very good question. And again, there is no one answer to that. In many cases, that process depends on how big your environment is, first of all. And the biggest challenge here is that sometimes businesses don't know how many endpoints they have, how many services, how many servers, how their environment is working, and that's where the biggest challenge comes in. So on average, I would say that onboarding process, let's say if we have everything in place, if we have everything documented, if we as an IT managers knows how our environment, how the servers are talking to each other, where those servers are placed, where those VMs are placed, whether those are on-prem or in the cloud, the average onboarding process may take from a week up to 4 weeks. But again, that really depends on the entire aspect of how your system is designed. So yeah, I hope I have answered your question. Let me have a look if there are some more here, and I think that is that it. Yeah, we have one more question here. So what about the data privacy when we're talking about full visibility? Okay, so many vendors takes this very seriously, and data privacy, it's obviously a huge aspect. So even though the information is being pulled from your entire environment, your data is secure. So those cyber security analysts within a team, they don't look, into those data unless there is something that triggers that, the error, or something is outside of the pattern, or there is some abnormality. Then they will have an open conversation with either an IT manager or the user itself, and then they will be going deeper into sort of looking for that, for the data, or they will be going deeper into conversation of, okay, can we, there was a problem with this, specific application. And yeah, but in a nutshell, the privacy of the data is, it is secure. So the data is secure if we are going with the managed threat providers. And I hope that answers the question. So yeah, let me just have a look if we've got more here. And I think that's it. There were 3 questions that are published. Yes. Okay. So I think thank you very much for being here with us today. Hopefully you found that webinar very useful. Hopefully you've learned something from that webinar. And just to remind you, there will be our next webinar, which you will probably hear about, will be about news in Microsoft 365. So anything which is new, anything which is, which you've not heard about, and we will be talking about it in the next webinar. So thank you very much for joining us, and all the best. Have a great day.